everyone, my name is Michelle Filiolo, and thank you so much for tuning in to Cook with J. Woo. I graduated from Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island in 2016, and I got my culinary degree and my food service management degree, and today I'm a culinary food stylist and a culinary producer. So I got my start when I was working. I actually worked at two different TV shows, Chopped on Food Network, and I also worked on The Chew on ABC as a food stylist. And if you don't know what a food stylist is, basically we make the food look beautiful and also taste beautiful. So whenever you see any TV show, there's always a culinary team behind the scenes that's, preparing everything, testing the recipes. And today I work as a culinary producer and food stylist for Middleby Residential. So to get started, we're gonna start by making an herb and brown butter shrimp roll, and it's super delicious. This is a great dish to have in the summer because you can make the shrimp salad before and keep it in the fridge, and then when the guests come or your friends come, you could just easily put it right into your hot dog bun or your brioche bun. So it's great. And during the live, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I have my camera lady here, and she's gonna definitely ask me the questions throughout the live so I can try to answer as many as I can. So to get started, we're gonna start off by putting our oven on broil. So I'm just gonna start off. This is gonna be set to broil for our bun. So I have our brioche buns over here, and I just have about 6 buns. You can use regular hot dog buns if you want, whatever you have around. You can even use a burger bun, it doesn't matter. As long as you have some sort of roll, this is great. And we're actually gonna take some of the butter and brush them on top right before we put them in the oven. But once we do that, we're gonna start first with our brown butter. So for the shrimp rolls, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to take like a riff on a lobster roll, which I love a lobster roll, but it's kind of expensive and sometimes it's not as accessible to get lobster, and breaking a whole lobster down, trust me, I've done that a lot, is not that fun. So shrimp is super easy. I just got a bag of 2 pounds of a bag of shrimp, and they're frozen. So super simple. We're gonna take the brown butter here. So I have about a 1/4 cup of butter, and I'm just gonna turn the heat on. And I have it on high right now. And we're just gonna let it slowly melt. And I'm gonna kind of like whisk the pan around a little bit like this. And you'll see, it's gonna melt down like to a regular butter, but when you brown butter, it's like 1 step above a regular melting of butter. You wanna brown the milk solids, and it gives you this like nutty flavor that's definitely a little bit more elevated, and you get another note of that. So you can see here, it's starting to melt already. Kind of just mix it around. You can even use a spoon, whatever you have, to help move the process along. And I have this on high right now. But you also want to be careful that you don't, let it go too far, because then if it burns, the flavor's not nutty and delicious. It tastes like burnt. So you really want to be careful.
Someone asked, what was the hardest food to make at J. Woo?
Okay, let me try to think. Well, it was funny because I worked in like a few restaurants before I went to Johnson & Wales, but I really didn't have like too much experience. I really learned everything at Johnson & Wales, which I have to say to this day really taught me pretty much everything I know, and then also working in the industry. But I have to say, the first time maybe even something as simple as roasting a chicken, like that was one of my first labs. I had like New World Cuisine, I think it was, and I don't know, just roasting a chicken. Now I do it so much because I love it, but that was definitely hard to perfect. Okay, so you could see in here, it's like definitely bubbling. This is now just regular melted butter, but like I said, we're gonna take it a step further. And you can see, you gotta be careful, but brown butter is awesome too. Actually, at work all the time, we make these brown butter chocolate chip cookies, which I'm telling you, they're amazing. You brown the butter before instead of having room temperature butter, and then you make the cookies like that. It's actually a recipe we do all the time. We make the cookies ahead, we scoop them out with an ice cream scoop, and then we put them in the freezer. So whenever we have, guests coming into our showroom where I work now, we pop them out, we throw them in the oven. And I also do that at home too. If I have any like friends coming over and I wanna have some cookies. Okay, so you can see here, starting to get to the point. What?
Sparkles asked, how do you feel about the mayo-based shrimp rolls?
How do I feel about them? Well, I like using mayo for this because this is definitely a little bit faster, but you can also just use butter if you wanted to. I know at work, I actually have done like little mini shrimp rolls or lobster rolls before, but just butter, and they're so good too. So you don't need to use mayo, but this is just something that's easy if you want to put it in the refrigerator before, so you can make this ahead of time and put it in the fridge, because if you used just butter on it, it would kind of congeal and not be as, you know, as delicious. So you could see here, see how it's slightly brown? It's a little foamy, so it's hard to see here, but once you kind of whisk it, you can see that it started to get a little bit brown. And this is exactly what you want. All right, so I'm gonna take this off because I don't want it to go too far, like I said. So we're gonna take it over here, and I'm gonna actually dump most of this right into this bowl to let it slightly cool so I can make the mayo mixture. So I'm gonna dump this in here and just save the slightest amount in here. I'm gonna put this back here because I'm gonna rub some of the extra brown butter onto the brioche buns before I broil them quickly. Okay, so now that we have the brown butter in here, like I said, I'm gonna let it cool a little bit, and we're gonna do the shrimp. So I actually have half the shrimp done already just because I don't wanna be cutting the shrimp the whole entire time, but we're gonna put the rest of the shrimp in, and I'll show you how, you know, we're gonna cook that over here. So I have the water, it's been salted, and it's boiling right now pretty much. We're just gonna pop these right in, and this is, like I said, just frozen shrimp, okay? This is frozen shrimp with the tail off, and it's been peeled and deveined. So we're just gonna kind of mix this together, and shrimp cooks so quick, which is nice too. So you can cook this ahead of time and then make this dressing with the mayo and the brown butter and just let it stay in the fridge until you're ready, you know, for your guests to come over and scoop them into the actual buns.
Someone said, have you ever cooked competitively in JWU before?
Okay, I haven't cooked competitively at Johnson & Wales, but I have cooked competitively with my good friend Jackie Rothong. We did a cooking competition before, and she's done a bunch of them, but we did a really fun one at this place in Hoboken, New Jersey, where it was the two of us against a few other chefs. So it was like teams of two, and we actually won the first one we did, and then the other ones we came in like second and stuff. So we've done a few of them, and it was a lot of fun, and I love being fast-paced. That's what I was at the Chew all the time. It was very, very fast-paced. Like when the chefs wanted something on the show, we had to run and go get things. So I definitely love that excitement and that energy. So maybe in the future I'll try to sign up for some other TV shows like that and do the competition. But to get started now, the shrimp is cooking, so we're just gonna let that go like another 2 minutes. But for the actual dressing itself, I'm gonna add in the other ingredients. So we have our brown butter here, which is a 1/4 cup. And you can see you can actually tell now that the milk solids have browned in there, which is, like I said, a super delicious flavor. It's something maybe, I don't know if you've ever had brown butter before, so simple to make, but it just gives you that other layer of flavor. And we're gonna take a 1/2 cup of mayo. So this is just like your whatever you get from the grocery store, your favorite brand, totally good, or you can make homemade mayo if you really wanna be crazy. And then, over here, see the spoon. I'm just gonna kind of mix it together. I don't need to mix it perfectly yet because I'm gonna add some other ingredients in. And you can see that it's kind of starting to come together. It almost looks separated a little at first, but then once you give it a good mix, it will all come together. Okay.
Someone asked, what was your favorite memory at Johnson & Wales?
My favorite memory? I don't know, I have to think about it. So I loved at Johnson & Wales, being down city on the down city campus. It was so cool to be in like a mini city, because I grew up in New Jersey and I was always going into New York City, and I love New York City, but to be able to go to school and then have like so many restaurants and have Fed Hill there. I used to work at a restaurant called Sienna on Fed Hill for a while. So just like the whole area where Johnson & Wales is, that brings back so many good memories. And then all the labs too, just learning so many things from the chefs, and I don't know, I feel like those are like some of my top memories there. That's what I would say. Okay, so to this mayo, like I said, we're gonna actually add a bit of texture to it too, so it's not just like a mayo dressing. We're gonna add some celery. So this is about a 1/4 cup of celery. So what I like to do is I have the celery ready, some of it, and I'm just gonna go right down, so you can see it like this, right down the middle, like that, and then we're gonna cut these into sticks. So right down the middle, so have it again, and then another half. So now we have over here our celery, and like we learned at Johnson & Wales, you always wanna hold your knife like this. You never wanna chop like that. You wanna hold the knife and grip it here, so you have more control of the knife when you're cutting. So I'm gonna just do some little, this is gonna be nice and thin. You don't wanna do too big of chunks, And you always want to curl your fingers when you're chopping, or else you might, cut yourself. So I'm just going to cut these up. And it's important too, you want to always, when you're making something, you always want to make sure that you have, the texture, the acidity, the different layers of flavor to really cover all of that and round out the whole dish. Okay, so I'm gonna add this to dressing, and then we're gonna pull the shrimp out. So let's do this. Okay, great. Let's pull the shrimp out. Okay, great. And like I said, this comes together so quickly. And I'm just gonna pull this off the heat. And then I'm going to just quickly strain these. And this was a 2-pound bag, like I said. And to quickly get them cooled off a little bit faster, you can put a little cool water on them if you want. I mean, you salted the water, you're gonna still salt the actual mayo dressing itself. So don't worry too much. I mean, shrimp by themselves don't have too much flavor, so it's important that when we make the mayo, we're gonna the dressing for it has, a lot of flavor incorporated, and you're definitely gonna season it as well. Okay, so come back over here. We're gonna add in our herbs now. So we have our dressing going. We have our brown butter, our mayonnaise, we have our celery for some texture, and now we're gonna go on to the different herbs. So I'm just gonna take some of this parsley here, and I'm gonna kind of bunch it up. I have the stems on them. You don't have to really go too crazy, because I'm kind of just gonna do a rough chop on them and then go over them again.
Someone asked, why did you want to be a part of the culinary arts industry?
Oh, okay, so that's a good question. So I originally thought I wanted to do nutrition when I was younger. I don't know why, but I grew up always cooking with my grandmother, and I love to cook. I really didn't have that much experience though before, I guess right before culinary school, when I knew I was gonna go there, and I was like, all right, let me go to a restaurant for a little bit and see how it is. And really I started to get into it because of my grandmother. She's a great home cook and makes all the typical Italian dishes that I love. And she was really the one that I would say that kind of opened my eyes to loving food, because not to sound cliche, but it really does bring family together. I'm always around the table with my family. I'm always, cooking for my family, and that makes me happy. So going to culinary school was something that, really made that come full circle. And then working in the food industry, like I said before, I thought I wanted to work in restaurants the whole time. And I ended up, working in restaurants in college and realizing I don't really know if this is exactly what I want to do. So I was able to get into the food world, but the TV side of it. So that was something I was like, wow, it's so great that you can do so many different things with food. It's not just like you're, pigeonholed into working into a restaurant. So it was definitely great that, I was inspired to cook by my grandma, but then I was able to take it somewhere else that, was definitely another great career. So this is just some scallions that I'm chopping here, just a rough chop. You want to kind of do these nice and thin still. And you can do the whole thing. You can go down to the whites, because it's all going to be mixed in together, so you don't have to go too crazy. Okay, just going to add these in to our dressing. Okay, great. Okay, and then lastly we have some chives here. We're going to add for some flavor as well. And these, you just want to get a nice thin cut on the chives as well. And I'm telling you, this comes together so quickly, and it really is a delicious, quick dish. And it's great because you can make this all ahead of time, and you can definitely keep this in your fridge. Okay, I'm gonna add this into here. Okay, now I'm just gonna mix it all together. So you can see here, it's, definitely a nice flavorful herby brown butter mayo. And we have that here. And then I'm just gonna clean off my board really quick.
Someone asked, what kind of knife are you using?
Okay, quite honestly, this is not even a special knife. The knife was like very simple because I had to move out of my apartment in New York City, so I don't really have any of my stuff here. This is just called a Sabatier. Honestly, it's pretty good. It's pretty sharp. I just bought them because I didn't have my knife, so just on Amazon, nothing special right now. Okay, do this really quickly. And like in Johnson & Wales, you always have to clean up as you go. You want to make sure that, you know, your space is nice and clean as you're cooking. Just gonna get rid of this. Okay, and now we're gonna add a little acidity to this dressing. So I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of white vinegar. So this is just gonna go right in here. I'm gonna add that in, just to kind of, like I said, add a little acidity to this. And then we're gonna add a little bit of lemon zest and lemon juice. So I have my zester here. You don't have to go too crazy. I mean, if you wanted to zest the whole lemon, you totally can. I'm gonna add about a teaspoon.
Someone asked, as a food stylist, what was the best job you had to do?
Okay, so as a food stylist, I mean, I've had so many great experiences working in the TV world as a food stylist. I would say one of my top ones was when Anthony Bourdain came on the show, and then he came back into the kitchen and was talking to us and letting us know like how the dishes that we made for him tasted. Because what happened on the Chew a lot was that the chefs would come on and they would just come on the show that the food stylist in the kitchen would be handed the recipe and we would have to make it for them, and then they would usually taste it right before the show, and they weren't there cooking. So on these TV shows, when these chefs come on, they're not back there cooking, you know, they're just coming onto the show for the day. So it's really cool when, you know, any of these celebrity chefs were to come into the kitchen and taste what we made and they were happy with it, because, you know, it's nerve-wracking because these are, you know, really well-known chefs. And like I said, I'm just gonna put in some lemon juice, like 1/2 of it. But yeah, definitely I would say for Anthony Bourdain when he was there, and then just in general, like all the episodes of The Chew were so much fun. And I'm trying to think of like another memorable one. Doing photo shoots, I've done so many different photo shoots in the cookbook for The Chew, and then on Chopped, working behind the scenes on Chopped was really cool. You know, working with all those celebrity chefs that are the judges was great. And I mean, also, recently I just did a photo shoot for Bon Appetit, which was great. But it's definitely a lot of fun, and it's an exciting industry. So everything's good with our dressing. I'm just gonna put these to the side as well. And I'm gonna get our shrimp. So we have our dressing ready to go. We're just gonna take our shrimp that we just cooked, and we're gonna basically cut them in half and then in half again. So right now the shrimp, obviously it's a little warm still, and that's totally fine when we make the dressing. But when you're done, like I said a few times already, you can put this in the fridge. So I'm just gonna cut this in half, and then in half again, or in thirds, whatever you know you're comfortable with. I don't like when these are too large of pieces for the shrimp, because when you're building it, you know, they fall off easily. So you can even do thirds, like I'm doing this now, like in half, and then I'll cut it in half again. And you just kind of want to make sure that you have uniform pieces so they're good for the buns. So I thought of this recipe actually because I love a lobster roll in the summer, and it's so much fun. And when I was invited to do the JWoo Live, the Cook with JWoo, I was thinking, oh, this would be fun, something that's, you know, a popular dish in the summer, but also I feel like it was crazy with everything, you know, obviously quarantining and, you know, not being able to get some of the dishes or some of the ingredients that you needed at the grocery store. And the bag of shrimp, I mean, honestly, I feel like this is usually always at the grocery store in the frozen food section. And everyone pretty much has mayo. Everybody pretty much has vinegar. You can use just regular vinegar. You don't have to use a lemon. You can, you know, substitute different vinegars if you want, or whatever you have around, lime. This is definitely a dish where you can use substitutions as well and use what you have around, and definitely more cost effective, because I know that to get any lobster, it's definitely a little bit more expensive. But
someone asked, how has being in quarantine affected you?
Well, it's been a little I mean, it's been a little crazy. I think for everyone it's, affected everyone a little bit differently, but having a strong support system with family, and luckily I'm able to be here with my family during these crazy times, definitely helps. And not to sound cliche again, but cooking. Like, I've been cooking almost every single night for my family since I'm just back home. I usually am in the city, but with everything going on, I decided to come back home, and cooking for them every night has been a lot of fun. So for me, it could be worse, and the fact that I'm here able to cook with my family is great. So everything's been okay. All right, so we have this here, our last piece of shrimp. And you can even, if you're really, not feeling like cooking the shrimp, you can even get pre-cooked shrimp, and it's even that much easier to do. Okay, so I'm just gonna wash my hands off. Okay, so now we have our dressing, and then we have our cut up shrimp. And what I'm gonna do is I'm basically just gonna add this to the shrimp, and we're gonna mix it all together. So, and you can use different herbs if you want to. You don't have to use the herbs that I used in this. You can use, if you're feeling like cilantro or tarragon or, dill, totally whatever you want. So I'm just gonna mix this together, and then we're gonna season it pretty well. We're gonna use some kosher salt, and this really, like I said, it has seasoning in the water when we salted it, but it's gonna go a little bit heavier, and we're gonna use some freshly ground black pepper. And I know sometimes people always think you have to add pepper when you add salt, but you really don't have to. It's really preference. So if you don't like pepper in this, don't add it. If you don't like an herb, substitute another one. Totally okay.
Someone asked, what does it take to be a part of the industry?
Do they mean industry, just food related industry, or do they mean food stylist? I'm not sure, but if you want to be part of the food industry, it's definitely hard work. Especially everything going on now, like you can see that it's so hard for these restaurants, it's so hard for people in the food industry, but if you work hard enough and you have a great product and your food is really good, I think, it will speak for itself. And I know restaurants where I grew up too, people are so supportive of them, and they've been doing so well because their food is amazing, and they treat their customers very well. So, you have to just be tough though. I've been yelled at before in the kitchen, and you have to have a tough skin. So unfortunately, if you're easily affected by that, you kind of have to get a little bit tough in the kitchen, but if you are, you're gonna go far. Okay, so now that we have this, we saved a little bit of the brown butter from before, and we have our brioche rolls. So I'll move this to the side so you can see this. So we have our brioche rolls here. I'm gonna quickly get rid of some of these dishes. Okay, and I have a little bit of brown butter left that I'm just gonna quickly brush on top. Just a little bit. These are kind of buttery already because they're brioche, but who really cares? Okay, just a little bit, like I said, nothing too crazy. And I'm literally gonna throw these into the oven for probably 15 seconds because my broiler is very strong and I don't want to burn them. So take this over here, and I'm just gonna stand here and watch. Just check on those. I'll turn the light on. And yeah, like I said, just a few seconds, just to get the tops a little crispy, nothing too crazy. And so it just gives, a little bit of warmth to the shrimp roll. That's over here. And over here, I have a nice platter where I'm gonna serve the buns with some chips on it. Let's take a look. Give it a little twist. Yeah, this isn't fun when you, many times on the tube, many times in places, if you step away from the broiler for a second because you have something to do and then it burns, it's not a fun thing. Trust me, that's happened to me many times before. All right, just another few seconds. These over here. I'm also gonna serve it with some chips and some pickles. And this is great. Actually, we're gonna eat this for dinner now at my house too. So this isn't just for here. This isn't just for the live, we're gonna eat this. Okay. Another second. Just wanna watch. Okay, great. So I'm gonna take these out. Okay. So right over here, I have the buns, which I'm just gonna place onto, they're not that hot, I don't need this. We're gonna place this onto the platter, which you could serve it like this. You could serve it just, you know, by itself on a plate. We're just gonna get a spoon.
Someone asked, any advice for JWU students?
So advice that I would have for them for culinary students, I would say just, you know, be involved in the school, talk to your professors, like do any extra activities if they offer it. It's definitely good to connect with professors. I mean, I know I have some that were so great to me, and I went, you know, on the weekends and did certain events that they had, or, you know, connected with them. And later on in the industry, I still were able to connect with them when I graduated, and they were so helpful and just so great. So definitely take that extra step if you're at Johnson & Wales and have the opportunity to work on like the weekends or do different things with the school, because the Johnson & Wales community is great, and you know, it's large. So it's definitely something that down the road, maybe it won't help you think, oh, why am I doing this? Or it's not, you know, worth it now. But trust me, I always feel like it's always worth it to just do something, even if, you know, you don't see the results now, maybe later it will help. So like I said, we're just gonna fill these up. Just gonna get a paper towel. So we're gonna fill these up. I'm not going too heavy on them yet because I'm gonna save a little bit on the side, but it's just super simple. Honestly, pretty impressive when you take a look at them. If you brought a nice platter of this outside, and you can serve them with chips, you can serve them with some pickles, you can serve them with, you know, a nice salad. You can even do this shrimp salad on top of like a bed of lettuce if you're trying to watch your carbs, which sometimes I do that too. Okay, just take this last one here. And like I said, I didn't fill these up too much, but I'll definitely let my family go in and fill them up more because I know that they will. Okay. All right, so we have our shrimp rolls here finished, and we're gonna top them off with a little bit of chives, some extra chives that I have on the side just to add some color. Do you have any more questions before we finish?
Someone asked, what is your favorite show to binge watch?
My favorite show, well, my sister recently has been watching Obsessed with Guy's Grocery Game, right? That's the name of it?
Yeah.
I mean, she's obsessed with that, and I've randomly been watching that with her. I mean, maybe I would say that. The Housewife show, I do like Bravos, so I'd probably say that. Okay, so we have our beautiful shrimp rolls that were super simple to make. They came together in, you know, 30 minutes or less. And then we have our side of our chips and our pickles. And I guess I should take a little bite so I can tell you guys what, you know, you really think. Let's say. Okay, so you definitely get the acidity from the lemon, and the lemon zest so good. The chives are nice on top, just add a little bit more of the chive flavor. And I think this would actually not gonna like lie. I think even if you had some few chips on top, it would actually be really good too, because you get the crunch from the celery, but I'm kind of the person that sometimes puts chips on a sandwich, which is might be weird, but. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was so much fun. Thank you so much. And if you want to tune in, I think they said on July 6th is the next live. So the week of July 6th, you can see another Cook with JWU. So thank you guys so much, and have a great night.